Hello, I'm Bradley Frith, Music Instrument Specialist at Amro Music Store in Memphis, Tennessee. Today I have Luke Folse here to talk about the anatomy of a reed. And Luke, I get a lot of parents, band directors, and students looking for the best reed and how to actually choose a reed that's going to function for their purpose. How do we start figuring those things out?
Alright, so let's take a look at the diagram of a reed so we can know all the parts. So there are four main parts to a single reed. There's the vamp, the shoulder, stock, and heel. The vamp is the most transparent part of the reed. The vamp has three additional parts: the tip, heart, and rail. The tip is the thinnest part of the reed where it's curved. The heart is where it begins to get darker. It's in a U or a V shape.
So if we hold it up to the light, we're going to see which part getting it clear?
Right, so the heart will have a V shape, hopefully, if it's a great reed.
Sure.
Well, you'll see this, there won't be a dotted line obviously, but you'll have, this part will be darker, and this is where it'll start getting lighter up here.
Gotcha.
The rails are just the edges of the reed, so those also thin as they go to the tip. The shoulder depends on which cut you have. You can either have a very finished or very cut shoulder. And the stock is the bottom part of the reed, below your ligature. Many different reeds have shapes and responses depending on how they're made in their factory and what country and what cut they're made from. So here we just have three examples. There's a Van Doren V12, a Reserve Classic, Rico Reserve Classic, and Gonzalez FOF. We'll take a look at some actual reeds to see how this diagram holds up.
Gotcha.
Alright, so we're back with real examples of reeds, so we can see how this diagram affects how the real shape of the reed looks. So as you can see, we have the tip up here, which is the most transparent part. So the backlight is coming through really well right here. This actually works best if you hold it up to the ceiling light, but we're kind of making do. So let's see. When you go from the tip down the vamp, there's a shape that begins to form. And the dotted line on the diagram is a U or a V shape. That the heart should always be in a U or V shape for maximum response and tonal center.
So it's like in the middle of the reed.
Right, yeah. So it goes from the very the tip, it gets right to the middle of the vamp is where you start seeing the shape of it. So this one has a pretty good shape right here. It begins to go in this kind of V, if you can see where I'm tracing. That's where the light part is over here, but the dark part is in this V. And then back here, it gets completely, you can't see any light through it. This reed is similar. It's a little bit harder to see, but it has a heart that goes all the way up here and all the way back. These are two different types of reeds.
Which is the one on the left?
So the one on the left is going to be the Van Doren Blue Box. That's the most commonly produced reed in the world. And this one on the right here is a Gonzalez FOF. This is actually made in Argentina, where this is made in France.
And the Argentinian reed is probably your favorite, isn't it?
This is actually the one I play on. So these I have all these in my case. I've about 12 in my case. I have 8 in my reed box and then 4 in the box. And then I used to play on these actually, because that's what most people start on. But as you can see, there are actually differences to how they look and therefore how they respond and play. This one over here, if you remember from the diagram earlier, the shoulder where the vamp met the stock was a clearly defined portion of the reed. Over here you can see the defined portion, but over here it's less so. I prefer this as the more cut, that looks more similar to the vamp, than this one, which is the more finished and kind of the medium between the stock and the vamp.
And the one on left is considered typically the French file, right? Where it's that straight line cut straight across the reed?
Correct. So this one has even at the tip of the reed shape, they're different. The different cuts at the very corner are different from over here. So this is the typical French cut, Van Doren, made in France. And this is Argentinian. Same French style of cutting, but always different depending on the manufacturer and brand.
Okay, well, we're going to go back into some other videos later on talking about how you store your reeds, because I heard you had 12, and then also how you may adjust the reed just ever so slightly, because we don't want people getting too in-depth with this without a teacher assisting. So, Luke, thanks so much for your assistance today, okay?
No problem.